Hi everyone, my name is Christian Parka and this is Banter with Parka. Today I am speaking with a fellow by the name of Raymond Chu. Ray hails from New York, hence his Instagram handle, Ray from New York. And I've known Ray for a very, very long time. Many years. He did a couple of articles for the Rake magazine in our early days of establishing that publication. And yeah, we've stayed in touch ever since then. Ray is a filmmaker, as I say, based out of New York, United States, and has also just launched a brand new clothing label called Drama Department. And we'll be hearing a little bit more about that right now. Ray has just joined us. I'm going to invite him on in.
Hello.
Live
Good evening,
from New
everybody.
York.
All two people.
It's there'll be more on the
Oh no, it's not Saturday
on the
night.
recording, no doubt, and the YouTube and all of the other forms of content we'll spin this out to. How are you doing, Ray?
A little harebrained right now, juggling everything. You can't see behind me. I'm blocking out the mess, but it's like a little post photo shoot disasters.
Okay. Well, the couple of photographs I've seen thus far have looked pretty damn good. So
Oh yeah, I'm really.
I gather you're wearing the merchandise right now.
Yeah, I'm never taking this off. I can't wait to do the photo shoot where I'm just like in the shower wearing it because the tagline will just be you never want to take it
Wear it
off
everywhere.
even in the shower.
Never nude. Wasn't
Yeah,
that the?
sorry guys. I'm just a never get
So look, tell us a bit about it, Ray. What's the story? So you've launched a new clothing range, or particular. I don't know if we describe it as a range or as a garment.
What to call it because it's kind of like a drop ship. It's multiple capsule collection, so it's not just like one wardrobe. So anyway, so the brand is called Drama Department International.
Yeah.
And I came up with the idea probably like 6 or 7 years ago at this point because I was shooting and I was looking for a better jacket as a cinematographer. And so I was looking around and I was using military stuff and looking at camping gear. I just couldn't find what I wanted that actually was right to use with some of these more complicated rigs. Hi, Blake. And so I started thinking about it and designing some pieces, and ultimately that led to a couple of false starts over the years. Like about 2 years ago, I tried to launch this with a partner in Asia, but they just wanted these giant purchase orders that we just, with no. And, with a line like this, I really didn't want to make it something for like a retail outlet. Everybody was going to direct to consumer, and I really like doing direct to consumer too, just because you have just so much more control over how the product is presented and everything. And so ultimately we came up with this name Drama Department because I realized all the designs I was doing, they were like capsule collections for each department. So I had like a concept for like what a cinematographer might need, or the second AC, the camera crew, and then the sound department, hair and makeup, all the different kinds of specialized departments. Because I was what was I looking at? Probably the Woolrich Parka or some of these. Which is the other famous? What are the other famous parkas? There's an Eddie Bauer parka that's really famous, and then who made the Everest parka again? I know Nigel Coburn did a replica of it. I remember who did the original. Was it Everett?
I don't know. I know there were bally shoes climbing Everest, but yeah, well, anyway, we don't get so much into parkas here in Singapore.
Well, I was like looking into all these designs, like the Canada Goose parka as well, and they're all really based off of like actual jobs. You know, they were designed for real jobs, like for oil riggers or for people, scientists working in the Arctic or something. So all the pocket layouts are very specifically laid out for their tools, you know? And so I realized like somebody like REI or Patagonia or anybody doing kind of mountaineering stuff or outdoor, you know, field gear, they may not do something that's like really, really specific for somebody like me, somebody like people,
Yeah.
people like. So that's what I set out to do, and I have like a book full of designs somewhere around here, but I don't want to get into that. So ultimately, this was something that I wanted like 10 years ago. I had a pair of rugby dress pants, sweatpants.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
that's what started
Yeah.
me. It was like cream. They did like a cream tennis blazer with it, and I just didn't really want that particular blazer with the whole look. So
Yes.
you know, for years I was just waiting for somebody to do a suit in some sort of sweatshirt fleece, like a French terry loop back or reverse weave, because I wanted something that I could sleep in when I was going on these 20-hour trans-Pacific flights, as I'm sure you've been on many of as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's not very comfortable in pretty much anything, actually, like suit or
Yeah.
otherwise.
No, it's true.
Jeans
Yeah.
aren't great. So that was the original impetus behind it, and you know, to have pockets for your passport and everything.
Yeah.
And I guess now it's a work from home suit, but I realize I also spend a lot of time sleeping on sets, going to sets, like just any
No,
downtime.
look, we've sort of discussed this. So yeah. So what you have made is, you know, it was initially intended as a suit, but that you could travel comfortably in. You could sleep, you know, anywhere, whether that be on a plane, train, automobile, whatever it is. But that is, you know, that allows you to move, gives you the sort of freedom of movement that you need when you're performing your job. But I think the interesting thing is that it also provides the look that someone would need in more of a regulation office kind of setting as well.
That was the impression that I got though with this some of these other attempts. I was like, well, but the fabric looks a lot like wool flannel, doesn't it? Like it just and it even drapes in a very similar way, especially the heavier weight ones. So, you know, that for me was kind of like the okay, maybe this will work, you know, moment. When I saw the fat, how close the fabric was, because I think other people have tried it in moleskin too, but you don't get that stretch.
Okay.
You know, moleskin's great, but it doesn't have any stretch to it.
Yeah.
And this, and other people have tried to do like stretch suits. Obviously, you know, there's stretch worsteds now, and there's other stretch cottons, and there's, you know, companies trying to use like Lululemon athletic fabrics on it. But you know, I just wanted to do something that was 100% cotton because I knew you could. Like, why everyone just using 100% cotton sweatshirts? Because
and so we're speaking to you today on the day that you've gone live with the website, and that you've thrown the doors open on the drama department and are making it known to the world. So I'm very privileged to be the first port of call.
You've been like the biggest fan for like 13, has it been 13, 14 years now?
Yeah, well,
I feel like you've always been my biggest cheerleader in the industry, so it's only right.
Okay, warms the heart. And
so much movies, yeah. What?
So when will this this amazing multi-purpose garment be going on sale? Because I think the remarkable thing is now, and perhaps you're fortunate in that you've created something that, whilst we've all been stopped from traveling, and it was created for traveling, and whilst the film industry has, in most places in the world, been kind of shut down, and you know, the people that you've, like yourself, you've made this for, it's also got this dual purpose of for conversations like I'm having now. And I'm not wearing a jacket because it's Saturday morning, and I was actually going to throw on my robe and go super cash for this one. But we've all got these conversations that we have to do, and you know, you want to look you want to look a little bit put together. You want to look your best. You want that kind of silhouette that tailoring gives you, but at the same time you want to be comfortable. And now you've created this thing which you can lie around the house. You can be watching Netflix. You can be Netflix and chilling in the garment.
Well, that's really the thing with the pants, because, you know, I'd seen other versions of it and they were all so tight and so low rise. And so one of the main things for me as an editor, because I spend, you know, I haven't really been doing as much camera work in the last couple of years compared to when I started my career 10 years ago. I've mostly been doing editing, so I just sit here for like 10 hours at a time sometimes. You know, sometimes you even forget to like get up and use the bathroom. You're just like in the zone, you know, it's like a flow state. And so, you know, having an option in a higher rise was really, really important to me, because it's just so much more comfortable anatomically, ergonomically with, you know, where everything sits, you know. So comfort is king.
Why did you choose to do a three-piece?
What?
What about the waistcoat? Why did you choose to do a three-piece with an integrated waistcoat?
I mean, it had to be a three-piece. That was, you know, if you're going to do a cozy suit, you know, it's got to be the whole thing. Well, I mean, it's a standard 6-button 4-pocket, which is my favorite format with this. But the main special thing about this is I took off the back adjuster so that it's easier to lie down and or to sit against something hard. Because for like years, I used to sit on the subway for like, you know, at some points I was living maybe 45 minutes out of Manhattan. So I'd go into the city and, you know, I'd be sitting against the subway seats, and they'd be so hard. The elastic, you know, when I got home, you know, or not the elastic, the adjuster, the buckle would have left like a red mark on my like lower back. And so I realized like, oh, okay, well, if I have a stretch fabric, that's actually something I can eliminate, you know, and still have it feel custom fitted, you know.
Yeah. So, maybe Velcro is the solution there. Maybe a Velcro adjuster.
Yeah, I mean, Velcro, or I could always do. I was thinking about doing like button adjusters with a tab on the side. If you do like two or three buttons, I think you won't really feel that as much. A buckle right on your spine, you know. I could do side adjusters on this with a buckle. That might be okay. But if you're a side sleeper, that might be uncomfortable. I feel like most people are
I guess the other thing with a waistcoat is if you want to take the jacket off, you know, a lot of people say that in the old office environment, which doesn't seem to exist anymore, but that, you know, you could take off your jacket in the office, and with a waistcoat, you still look a little bit more
put together.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, also, I designed the suit as a unisex suit too, because a lot of most of my friends happen to be female in the film industry. Like, I work with a lot of female directors when I was a cinematographer, as an editor, and you know, they had a lot of trouble finding good, comfortable suits. And so when I was designing this, I had a lot of details in mind, and like the trendy look is to like do the nude underneath suit. And so part of doing the waistcoat for that look was making sure everything was like really unlined, so that's really comfortable. You could literally just wear this next to your skin and it wouldn't be uncomfortable. It won't get like sticky or sweaty from satin lining.
Okay, well, I don't know that wearing just a waistcoat is a sort of idea. I don't know, maybe... I don't know. I remember that...
Maybe you're going to be
like a Michael Hutchins thing.
You know? Maybe you're going to want to do like the warrior outfit with like no shirt and like just...
Chains. Some chains on there. I do remember Michael Hutchins from In Excess doing quite a bit of sort of just the waistcoat action, early 90s kind of, 91, 92, crazy times,
Well, the
crazy times.
jacket's unlined too, so you could wear this as like a beach blazer or like a poolside blazer and just kind of throw it over it. It won't feel gross either. Because
Yeah.
I'd seen people do a sweatshirt knit, like I've seen every version of knit blazer, I feel like, over the last 10 years or so, and it makes a big difference when it's lined or unlined in the sleeves, I find, as far as comfort goes, if you're going to wear not a long sleeve shirt.
Exactly. So, someone was saying something about Michael was saying need to recreate that with COVID bods in my. Well, I suppose it sounds like you
It is a
created
sack.
a.
It's a sack suit. There's no darts on it. It's actually. It's a very forgiving fit.
And what are the sizes? Does it just come in S, M,
I want
L?
to do, because it's unisex, I didn't want to do alphabet sizing, so I'm just sizing
Okay.
it to chest size, and everything on it besides like the jacket sleeves and like the size of the jacket, but the jacket, like, it's a sack suit, so it's dartless. It's very, it's just like a very straight, forgiving fit. But then like the trousers, like they have an adjustable hem, so you can even adjust the inseam. So, and the
Mm.
waist, I left it with like a self fabric waist. It's super, super stretchy, along with having the side adjusters. So as far as fit goes, it's kind of designed for how much your body is probably like changes over the course of time, because I think that kind of happens to everybody, right? I mean, like, you just
Yeah.
got those weeks where it's just like, because Fred Astaire used to do that. Was a whole Fred Astaire story with the silk ties, right? For the
Oh,
because he used to dance, like when he was
yeah.
dancing, he'd lose a lot of weight and he would gain it back, and then so he's just yo-yoing all the time.
Okay. Well, he looked quite svelte. Lucky guy. Um, I've been laying off the intoxicating beverages for the month of September, what I was calling abstemious September. Not purely sober, but 99% of the time, and yeah, lost a couple of thousand grams.
Events right now to socialize.
So
It's less.
sorry.
How's Singapore?
It's okay. It's better than some places. We've got a pretty good handle on this thing. Everywhere you have to go, you scan a QR code and punch in and say I've been here and done that. But they're talking about maybe we're going to be allowed to go to Australia and Malaysia and Thailand and Hong Kong and things soon. So that'd be nice. Yeah. So maybe we're going to be some of the early adopters of drama department, being able to buy this thing and wear it on the plane. You never know. You never know. Last time we chatted, we spoke about cinematic inspirations, and because we had such a bad connection last time, I didn't manage to get the thing recorded and to save that for posterity, and I want to do that this time. So let's talk about, I don't know, what are some of the movies that, because I know obviously your dress sense has been very, inspired or affected by particular films over the years. What are some of the movies that have really stayed with you from a hashtag menswear point of view?
I mean, I think it's a lot of probably the classics to a lot of menswear people in a lot of ways. I really love the Bogart, Maltese Falcon, Big Sleep, the Hitchcock, Cary Grant, Jimmy Stewart looks from like Vertigo and North by Northwest. As far as I don't know, there's just so many movies. Raiders of the Lost Ark. I feel like all the Spielberg, all like old Spielberg, I like
Mm.
pulled things from, and they're not necessarily viewed as style movies per se, but I feel like they designed such great characters. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Oh, of course, Blake has to mention Scorsese. Yes, of course. I mean, I don't even know if it's just Scorsese so much as maybe the entire gangster genre and its effect on menswear. You know,
Yeah.
I feel like the gangster genre has always like it's like between the gangster genre and I don't know what other genre would you say probably affects the period piece, but I guess gangster movies are usually
Well,
period.
gangster slash film noir was always,
James Bond, I guess. James Bond
yeah.
is it's probably what I think about the most when I think about my own style.
Well, and you've also had, a lot of, I think, particularly since sort of the 70s onwards, having designers get involved in costuming, whether that's, Ralph Lauren doing the Great
Yeah,
Gatsby, which is not a brilliant movie, but is incredibly stylish. Or,
yeah,
you were just talking about Scorsese and gangster movies.
yeah.
Um,
Or Armani,
I
right? Armani.
yeah, Armani. All
Yeah,
that stuff.
I
I
mean,
was
yeah. I'm coming from, speaking about it last time, coming from a costume design standpoint, I think it's important to reiterate again, like, what a different break in periods it was from Hollywood model, the old Hollywood studio system versus, the post studio system in costume design, because
mm,
the kinds of films that they were making and the process for how they were making the costumes and developing these characters is just so different now compared to what it was like in the 30s and the 40s. I mean, when we're talking about like these studio era actors, I mean, in these movies they're mostly wearing their own clothes,
yeah,
which would be very unusual now,
yeah.
especially for some of these kinds of characters where they have like probably like 10 versions of the suit for like stand-ins or stunt doubles or whatever, and so not just um, just putting on that same old suit and going to work.
Well, but it's an odd thinking. Is I mean, unless you're playing, Cary Grant often played, an urbane gentleman who worked as an
Exactly.
architect or advertising
Yeah.
executive or whatever. So that's very much
It's almost
in.
like getting typecasting yourself based on your wardrobe, kind
But
of.
what if you were you're playing I guess that's why so many of those guys who
Yeah.
were
Like,
from sort of gangstery street backgrounds and hung around with Bugsy Siegel and all
yeah.
that sort of thing,
Like,
but
I
they
wonder
used to wear the black silk shirt.
so many pinstripe, chalk stripe suits, if he would have just kept getting repeatedly cast as gangsters all the time. Or if James Cagney didn't have all those hats, that looked very gangstery. I don't know. I wonder.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
look, I wouldn't have minded ending up with the Armani wardrobe from the Untouchables. That sort of there's a bit of everything in in
Mm-hmm.
that one. From Frank Nitty's white, um, you know,
So like
white
the
flannel
decadent
suits.
Al Capone stuff. Yeah. The
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
the Vicuña coats and yada yada yada. Yeah, I mean, I think that for me, as a student of fashion and costume design, I think it's great seeing different kinds of characters and the way that we dress them, because I think it really, it inspires the people. I think ultimately when you watch something like that, you go, oh, okay, that's how I want to be, or I want to be kind of a version of that, even if it's not like let's say a more gentrified kind of character, but even like
Mm.
Stanley Kowalski, Tennessee Williams, Streetcar Named Desire kind of character. I think that still inspires people. I think there's still like a tough guy style out there that, you know, that archetype still speaks to. There's so many different archetypes of people in film, and I think, and people see themselves reflected in them, and that's a big part of the process of going to the movies, right?
Yeah. Something that struck me the
I
other
like.
day. I'm going. I'm going. I'm going to give you two examples here, and I think it's getting harder for filmmakers to create a sense of time via costuming. So a couple of weeks
Totally.
ago, I was watching on Netflix Carlito's Way, which I haven't watched in quite a while, and is one of my favorite movies of all time. Love it. And I was reminded, that movie is set in 1975, and you've got Pacino wearing, the big sort of leather coats with the big collars, and everyone's looking, very
Hmm.
1975, looking very disco. You know immediately by just looking at, even at, Davy Kleinfeld, the Sean Penn character, who's a lawyer. It's still, in pinstripe suits, but they're still 1975 kind of
Totally.
pinstripe suits. And that movie came out in 1993, which was 18 years after it was set. Whereas if
Yeah.
you look at something now like Uncut Gems, where obviously, Mordecai did an amazing job with helping coordinate the style for that film. But
So
but you look at that movie, and it could be now. You don't necessarily anything that any of those guys are wearing. Yes, I know it's supposed to be about something
period.
like 18 years ago. So it's I think it's set in 2002, 2001, something of that nature.
Mhm.
But any of Adam Sandler, could be walking down the street in those garments right now and wouldn't look necessarily out of place. Whereas Al
Mhm.
Pacino, if you dressed like Al Pacino was dressed in Carlito's Way and walked down the street in 1993, people would be like, "Whoa, this guy has just
Totally.
transported from 75."
Well, I think we live in a very strange time and fact where, like, I feel like for the last 4 years, we've been doing all of it at the same time. It's been like the greatest hits highlight reel for like every genre of fashion, and I love it, you know. But to go back to the question about film, costume design, and doing period, right? I think the most interesting thing, and I'll circle this back to our time period right now, but like, so like every time that does their stamp on a time period, right? Like to do does a period piece. It always kind of leaves a little stamp of that period on it, right?
Mm,
I wonder sometimes if the psychology is actually the reverse. Like it's like, oh, this story from this time period speaks to us right now, and we already happen to be like doing this, and so we're just gonna like shove the dialogue in with the stuff that we're already wearing. You know what I mean? Like right now we're like in this cottage core thing. And last year I remember they revived this Peter Bogdanovich movie into a TV show. What was it called? Something. It takes place in Australia. Hanging Rock, Picture of
oh, Picnic and Hanging Rock. Yeah, very, very
yeah,
stylish film.
yeah, very stylish film for Victorian women's wear, and but like that vibe is like totally in right now with the cottage core thing, and
Okay.
like I find myself watching like Little Women, and I find myself watching like Pride and Prejudice, whereas like maybe when those movies came out they weren't necessarily relevant to me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I think there might be something to like they were in a sort of period in the 70s maybe where it felt a lot like the 20s Great Gatsby with the sort of wealth gap and being like a sort of Nick character looking in on this kind of Gatsby a Buchanan-esque wealth, and going like, oh, this feels like now in the same way that like this is how I'm circling it back, right? So Baz did he decided to do the Gatsby movie. I remember reading an interview with him, I think in Vanity Fair or whatever when it came out. He decided to do that movie because of seeing the sartorialist and Bill Cunningham's pictures of the Governor's Island Jazz Age lawn party, and that was becoming a thing. Everybody was like feeling very like 20s flapper vibe like at that particular time because it was right after the stock market crash and everything.
Okay. Yeah.
And so, you know, and I was like a part of the early days of that too, and had a very, you know, and like that Gatsby suit that he wears in the movie with the peak lapels is basically like the photo that Scott took of me back in whatever 2009 or whatever that was. And so,
wait a second. You're inadvertently to blame for Baz Luhrmann's remake of The Great Gatsby. I don't know if I can forgive you, right? I don't know.
Yeah, according to that interview, there's like old sartorialist photos. You know, there's Governor's Island photos on a food board. So I'm going like, all right, there's probably some pictures of me and Sean Crowley on there.
Exactly. I thought that the styling of that movie was terrible. If you Google some of the photographs of it now, there's a lot of prole gap going on. There's a lot of you know, the suit jacket collar hanging back from the shirt, and there's many. I don't know whether they were. You can read it as Catherine Martin was intentionally trying to make Gatsby looked like an arrivist who didn't necessarily know how to wear all of these beautiful garments that he had. I don't know.
I think Leo might also just have really bad posture.
Maybe. Okay.
He's like surprisingly taller than you'd think he's gonna be.
Yeah.
He's a very, very tall man. He takes up a lot of space, and so. You know, it might just be that he kind of, because I've been developing a really bad cell phone neck myself. So I wonder if that's just a 21st century problem with
yeah. Got to sit back.
Yeah, she definitely did her take on the 20s, though, right? It definitely wasn't like a textbook, you know, any. You know, it kind of was reminiscent of like the skinny Pixie Boy 20s look, but these guys are, you know, built like 2010 guys. They weren't like that skinny kind of like Tim Burton kind of figure that's in those illustrations. And, you know, but it's also not, but I don't know. We can nitpick the details on that, you know, till the cows come home. Probably, you know, the gorges are too high and blah blah blah.
I don't know, and I think Leo is one of the GOATs, but yeah, I've never been, you know, a fan of Baz Luhrmann's canon. I don't know, even
on Rouge.
Just look, I don't know, too theatrical for my liking. I like to be able to suspend disbelief, and it's probably the same way. I don't like musicals, so that's probably a lot of his stuff is. It's and I like to suspend disbelief, you know, at the same time as, you know, you're going into a cinematic experience, but when it's
I think with that. Might be the most maximalist filmmaker that's ever existed. You know, I think that's really where he exists on the spectrum. And yeah, I mean, my teeth hurt after watching his movies because they're so sugary. You know, it's confection. There's definitely a lot of confection involved with his movies, more so.
I think it. You know, you mentioned Moulin Rouge. There were parts in that are so. Emotionally manipulative.
Totally.
The first time I watched it, where where the tears were welling up, and I was like, "Screw you, Baz Luhrmann! Like, don't make me, you know, emotional with your schmaltz."
I feel like that movie is like a teenage girl sing-along movie in the way that like Across the Universe is, you know?
Okay. Yeah.
Like it's like you put it on when you're having that sleepover with the gals and you margaritas or whatever. And do
Yeah, look, and you know, and Baz, you know, for Netflix to go, who are we going to give who are we going to let tell the story of the origins of hip hop? I can't think of anyone better than a middle-aged white Australian guy
totally
called Baz Luhrmann.
yeah, he knows what's up. Yeah.
You know, shit. You know, John Singleton was still alive at this point, and you know that would have been an amazing swan song for him. But no, they gave it.
Hollywood does weird things like that. I don't like with Mulan. You know, this is like the Asian American moment right now. We've got the most name brand Asian American directors you can think of in the history of Hollywood, and they hired a white lady to direct it.
At least it was a woman. At least it was a woman.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it's true. But, you know, Karens, you know, I'm sorry, white women don't necessarily get a pass from me anymore. They've shown their true colors. And they're pale.
okay, yes, it's a tricky time. Well, look, you know, going back to Baz, you know, I do think one of the, for me, one of the only silver linings of the COVID-19 crisis was that Baz's take on the life of Elvis Presley has been delayed for the sort of indefinite future, and caused the greatest American hero, Tom Hanks, to catch the disease. Terrible stuff.
Terrible. That's what it was for? Was for the Elvis movie?
He was out in Australia filming the Elvis movie with Baz on the Gold Coast.
That's too bad. Yeah, that's a shame. Yeah, no, let's talk about some directors whose style and movies we really like. Because Baz, you know, so I love Paul Thomas Anderson as far as new directors. Because we can talk about old directors all day. I mean, we can talk about John Huston movies. We can talk about George Cukor movies, Hitchcock, whatever. But I really love the breadth that Paul Thomas Anderson has taken. You know, because Paul Thomas Anderson, I think his main focus, his career, has been about California style, right? Which I think in regards to how summer California style is portrayed in film. And that's one of the nice things about Chinatown, right? Is you see these light suits in the 30s as opposed to just the standard kind of wool, tweed, English, Downton Abbey stuff. So I thought the coolest thing about, I mean, well, I don't know. Can I talk about this on the air? I don't know. I guess we can get into some intimate stuff. So I actually lost my virginity to Boogie Nights.
Wow. Okay.
And one of my greatest moments in my life was when I was seeing a show at the Public Theater my freshman year at NYU, and the snow is coming down, and I'm waiting for my friend, and I look over, and Philip Seymour Hoffman is standing with the Labyrinth Theater Company, his group, and they're rehearsing their next play at the Public Theater. And I didn't say anything to him, but I'm like smoking my cigarette. He's smoking a cigarette. I looked over at him. I'm like, should I tell him? That's like a really awkward thing to tell somebody. That,
well, actually, I don't want to say, you know, what a terrible loss that was, both in, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking about him a lot the last month, you know, because he's just like, he was one of the greatest, man. Like,
incredible. He's even amazing in freaking Mission Impossible movie. You watch that Mission Impossible movie he's in, where he's the villain. He's basically in that.
Oh my god, I totally forgot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
he's
you know.
And no, the question I have on a much lighter note is, when you say you lost your virginity to Boogie Nights, was that in a cinema or was that watching it on TV?
No.
Because
no, after prom, it was in an apartment.
Okay, that's well. Look, I don't know. Either way, it's an even better story if it was in a cinema because, good
No,
heavens.
I'm not old for that. Although maybe they'll have a midnight screening of Boogie Nights, and we'll.
Yeah, and I was going to say, that
But
that final scene of it, you'd maybe feel a little bit inadequate with the young lady, but
well, it's funny you bring that up. So beyond my suit, I've been up to some other creative endeavors. So my next script I'm writing are actually an Asian American sex trilogy, and the first one is about a bunch of guys who answer the advertisement to go do Japanese porn because they need
okay.
that
Because there's
article.
demand, I believe. I believe there is demand.
So actually, Paul Thomas Anderson has definitely inspired me a little bit with that because I feel like nobody's
Yep.
done a film about porn in a long time, especially modern porn, like the modern porn industry, because I feel like what was the HBO show they did a couple years ago? The Deuce. That was very Boogie Nights.
Yeah, I didn't watch it.
That was great for costumes. Actually, that was a great costume piece, and I think Scorsese produced that, and
Yeah, I think you're right.
everything about it was really great. Reed Morano, I think, and Rodrigo Prieto were the DPs on it, so it was just like beautifully shot, like aesthetically. No, wait, no, that was the other one. That was the music industry show. There were two shows that were really cool on HBO the last couple of years.
Oh, I enjoyed the music industry one as well. That only went for I think one season.
Yeah, I know. I'm cool with Jack Quaid, so I was sad to see that show go. But now he's on The Boys, so I think that worked out for him.
Okay, yeah, well,
Yeah,
tomorrow's another day.
fantastic. Sorry, Jack. I'm the worst. There's so much like.
So tell us more about this script.
Oh no, I don't want to get into the script yet. No, we'll wait for the trailer for that. That's under wraps.
Okay.
Also, let's talk about There Will Be Blood though. I love There Will Be Blood for its style. I mean, that I think is the movie that I go back to for style all the time for like right now. As far as workwear and that kind of like the kind of country, the tall boots and the khakis and that stuff. But also like the suits are fantastic, and I think the facial hair, like there's something about that time period, like the 1900s, turn of the century LA, California to me that feels very relevant style-wise right now.
Yeah, we're losing you a little bit there, Ray. I've read. I'm going to have to go back and look it up again. But the real life person that the main character in There Will Be Blood was based on. Yeah, there's someone in our sort of.
That's what the book's called. Oil.
Pardon?
Point. The book that it's based on. It is based on a book, right?
Well, I'm losing you a little bit. Yeah. Anyway, it's the real life character is someone that one of his contemporary descendants is someone who I think is in sort of we know of. Anyway, I'm going to have to look it up again. But it's sort of based on a true story.
Who? Descendant of Daniel Day-Lewis?
Yeah.
No way. So they're actually related.
Sorry?
Wait, as in you're related to the person that the book
No,
is about?
not me. Anyway, we're getting lost in in translation. But yeah, the Wi-Fi choppiness has just led to some strangeness in
what's up with that?
in the communication.
Anyway, I don't know.
Who else?
I think everything in that movie is so wearable though, like that big chunky shawl collar that he's wearing at the end
Mm.
when like I drink your milkshake. I love that sweater. I've been looking for that sweater for years. But yeah, I mean, Boogie Nights I think has great '70s style, like summer style, like all that '70s stuff. I feel like is very relevant right now because I think everybody's hair like mine. I mean, the last time you saw me, Christian, my hair was short.
Yeah.
Now it's down to here. I know I'm not the only one that looks like 1972 right now, or 1976.
No, I've just been yeah. They've let our hairdressers open, but I get my hair cut with the mask on. The guy's got the mask on behind me. He's got this sort of method of moving the straps around your ear and still doing the cutting around the ear. It's no, you don't have to do that. He's got this thing where he sort of puts it on the underside and then puts it on the overside and kind of cuts around. It's an innovation. It's yeah.
Well, I don't
One
know.
of
I haven't
the
grown my hair out in a decade, so I actually was looking forward to this. You
Why
know,
not? No,
yeah.
I think it's you're talking about 70s slash early 80s style, and we used to always talk about that being the decade that style forgot or whatever, and it being funny, but and I think even when Boogie Nights came out, it was still
Yeah.
sort of it was vaguely ridiculous, or he makes comments
I mean,
like.
everything in that movie is ridiculous. It's
Well,
fantastic.
what is it that Diggler when he's getting all successful, he says this is a special nylon from a limited edition polyester from a polyester designer in Italy who's one of the leaders in the field. I keep getting these ads on Instagram for face masks that are like a bomber jacket, and it says made from artisanal Japanese nylon from small scale Japanese nylon. I'm like, are you for real? Well, number one, you wouldn't be able. You actually would not be able to breathe through these stupid face masks. But number two, I don't think there's artisanal Japanese, bomber jacket nylon, really.
I don't know. We should ask Miuccia Prada. I'm sure she knows Japanese artisanal nylon.
Okay, maybe. Actually, since we're getting towards the end of our time, let's jump back to drama department and what
Yeah.
you're doing, and the fact that you've set up a clothing label. And if you wouldn't mind, I think a few people know that your uncle is the founder of a small clothing brand called Nautica. I'm curious whether.
It's vintage.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. There we go. No, so and I was just out at the mall yesterday. I was looking through some Nautica stuff. They've still got some good yachting parkas and things that I was like, yeah. But anyway, point is, is there anything in particular that you learned from your uncle that you're applying to the launch of this new business, or did you go to him for advice, or was there anything you picked up in the day?
I mean, so much. I mean, it's almost hard to like articulate because like so much of it's just like absorbed. You know what I mean? At a certain point, I feel like ultimately, I guess my biggest takeaway from Nautica is like remember that form has to follow the function. You know, like my favorite piece. This is probably my most favorite piece my uncle ever designed. I looked for it for 5 years on eBay. This is probably from the early '90s,
Wow.
but it's this
Okay.
yellow. It's the most iconic yellow parka. This is like the Nautica yellow. This shade of yellow, right? But
Yeah.
just the fact that put like the big fish pocket on the back here, and just like really thought out all of these details and how they were going to work together in the field,
Yeah.
And I think there's so much wonderful inspiration out there now. There's so many different style vocabularies. Like I've really been following like what Errolson Hughes doing, who
Amazing stuff.
1,000 Yard Style turned me on to him. And like he's just got such an awesome futuristic vocabulary and how he designs and the purpose for what he makes all of his pockets for and everything. That's very different than I think what a lot of um, maybe would you consider us classicists, Christian?
I think so. Yes, yes, definitely. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, stuff like that. Which that jacket you would not know when that was made, and it's what it's early 90s. Did you say?
Yeah, but it could just as much be from the 50s or the 60s or the 40s, I think. It's even, I think the shell, the body shell is cotton, so it's not relying on polyester really in any way. And I used to have a lot of outdoors people, like camping, hiking friends, and they're like these like, I call them gram Nazis because they're like really, really intense weights of everything and like how
Okay.
they have to put it in their pack and hike all day with it, right? But ultimately, there has to be, and I think we dealt with this in the menswear suiting side too, as well with the supers. But like thinness and durability, there's a balance there between, how long you want something to last in the field versus, how refined you can make it per se. You can have super 220 wool, but is it gonna breathe? Is it gonna tear? Is it gonna, there's all these other things, and that's why I think a lot of the stuff that we've liked for 15 years or longer, with the heavyweight flannels and the and all of these much more throwbacky kind of fabrics, right?
Yeah, some clothes you need to look at like they're a bottle of champagne. They're going to
Yeah.
be really, really enjoyable while they last, but they're not gonna last forever, no matter how much you try. And you can't have your cake and eat it too, as they say. You can't have your champagne and drink it too. You got to drink that thing down, and then the bottle is gone. But no, some I don't know. It's not like a consumable at all. It just keeps going.
Like fine wine, right? That get better.
But it's not even like wine, because even that fine wine, for you to enjoy it, you got to pop the cork, and you've got to consume it, and then the wine is gone. But
Yeah, that's
a jacket
true.
like you've and what about the drama department suit? You're confident that this is going to be a real sort of long-term investment for someone that's going to last a decade or two?
Oh, I don't know about a decade or two because it's cotton and it's not wool in that way. But I
Yeah.
can definitely, I mean, based on this fabric and based off of the other pieces that I had, I mean, in rotation, I mean, this piece could last like 3 to 5 years or more. I still have some pieces that I've had for 8 years, but I probably, gave them a year off or something. You know what I mean? So I don't know if I can count that. But I don't think that this is going to like fade or fall apart in the way that something like from H&M or Uniqlo, which is maybe one of the only other options you can get something that's like a stretch terry suit, a stretch, a fleece suit like this. I don't. I think it's going to last a lot longer than that for sure. It can definitely. I think having multiples in rotation will definitely help too. Because I've had two pants like these for about 5 years now, and one of them has cigarette holes in them, but the other one's fine. I could keep wearing the other ones just great.
Well, look, you're clearly a born merchant by recommending that people have several of them in rotation. That's a really good idea. The next thing to do is,
I mean, I can't wait to.
well, if you get it in in blue, you should have gray as well, because then you can mix and match, and yeah.
Exactly. I mean, it's just such a versatile thing to have. I think that you and I know this, and I think we've spent the better part of a decade trying to educate the rest of the world and men to the idea that like investing in pieces like three-piece suits actually really benefit you in the long run, because just having those pieces to mix and match with anything else you pick up along the way, it really it really allows you to be versatile in.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean this is probably, I should I grab the original here? I can show you the original next to it.
Yeah, sure.
So this is an actual Brooks Brothers. Is this Brooks Brothers? This is a 346. Let me see the label here. I wish I had one. Do I have one with the black label? Anyway, I'll dig it out. But I'm sure many of you know what the old Brooks Brothers label is. But it's basically, she did a really good job at so these are all being made in New York, in Midtown. I became friends with a second generation factory owner. Her parents used to do work for um, Polo, for Ralph Lauren, and now she does work like people like Marc Jacobs. And so she has an entire production facility in New York, and it's really great to be able to just like do it really local, to be able to like go myself and not have to go overseas somewhere to figure out all of these details that are like, for guys like us, these details are like really specific sometimes, I think.
Yeah. Well, no one's going to be able to buy Made in America Brooks Brothers in future, sadly, by the looks of things. But look,
that I have
we're back.
Make the original pattern that everybody wants in America, in Manhattan, and Brooks Brothers isn't.
That's pretty good. So I think we're going to get cut off in like 2 minutes. So just the final thing I want to ask is when will people be able to actually buy the drum department suit?
Well, I'm going to make the website live momentarily, so you can put your orders in. And it's going to take about, right now, generally, once we get everything going smoothly, the turnaround time should be about 2 weeks for delivery.
Okay, so it's very much made to order, right?
Yeah, it's pretty much made to order. I'm going to have an inventory eventually, like a small inventory to ship directly much faster later. But for now, it's pretty much made to order. I think it's going to be about a 2-week window once we get going, but right now it's about 3 to 6 weeks while we're still working out the kinks on the size grade and everything for the size run. But otherwise, I don't know. I feel like 2 weeks is a pretty acceptable time. I mean, I've waited that long. eBay things sometimes even.
No, I just ordered some gin, and it's going to take 5 days to come to me. So if I can wait 5 days for
there
gin,
you go.
Gin only takes a day to make. Why are they taking 5 days to send it to me? That's ridiculous. I don't know.
Absurd. Yeah, so I've been lucky with being able to find production in New York, and I'm not saying that maybe COVID had something to do with it, but I think Made in America has been a trend for the last couple of years to bring manufacturing back here, and I think it's as a minority, it's also a different story too. I think so. I was just talking to Gare the other day, the famed fashion photographer, about what it's like being in the industry, because it's still a very Eurocentric industry, being in menswear especially, but women's wear just as much. And to be working with a Korean American second generation, and to be a second generation designer myself, it is from our perspective, it is a different story than I think a lot of the ways it's being portrayed. You know, I think for us, it's very much a sort of rising up kind of story, like a sort of bootstrapping your way up story, as opposed to, you know, kind of the way that immigrants and labor are usually portrayed in the news, at least.
Well, it's, you know, I think that's a nice note to end on, but, you know, I always like to point out that, you know who made America great? Immigrants. Who made Australia great? Immigrants. So, you know, to be a nativist is, well, it's insane in
It's
in a
absurd,
country
really.
like,
It's absurdist.
yeah, yeah.
Really, as an absurdist writer and absurdist fan, I'm really enjoying the absurd comedy that we're living in now. I'm very entertained, and I hope you are too, Christian. As a man of taste.
Well, look, you know, we already spoke a bunch about Scorsese, but I think if you go back and watch, you know, Gangs of New York, where it is like these people who've been in America for 2 generations, trying to throw out the people who are, you know, the Irish who are just coming, or the Chinese who are just coming. That's
old story.
madness. Yeah.
Which is also a great movie for style if you're into fuck you pants. And we can save that for another video.
All right, all right. Well, look, all the best with the new launch, Ray. I can't wait to see one of these things in real life. And as you know, I've you know, thought that this is an essential item that needed to be invented for a long time. So, you know, kudos on being the man who's gone out and actually done it. Amazing.
Oh my God, that is so great to hear out loud. Like, I appreciate that so much, especially coming from you. You know, it's, you know, I didn't really want to get into, because there's so many great people doing the classics in menswear right now. I didn't really want to get into it unless I was doing something where I felt like I was innovating in a little way. And so, you know, this is my little contribution.
Cheers to you. No, the thing needed to exist. It needed to be brought into the world. So, so bravo. All right, my friend, I will speak to you again very soon. You have an excellent Friday night. Thank you to everyone who was watching, and join us next week for the next installment of Banter with Parka. Thank you, Ray Chu. See you soon.
Ciao.
Pleasure's all mine. Cheers, mate. Take care.
Bottoms up.